karate-kicking Jesus, time-traveling rollerbladers, and whatever the hell this is. Doom Patrol Season 2 is here with a new home on HBO Max, and if you haven't heard the news, Episode 9 wasn't originally supposed to be the season finale. Because of COVID, they didn't get to film all of the final episode, so if it felt a bit like this wasn't a finale, that's probably why. Either way, we're gonna take a deep dive into this finale and try to answer some of its biggest questions, like who this mystery alter ego is, why Niles had a syringe on him, and of course, Dorothy and the Candlemaker. But before we get ready to party, make sure to like and subscribe, Flex Mantello demands it. The final episode focuses on Crazy Jane, or should I say Miranda, who has taken control of Kay's body as the primary. Think of the primary as the captain of Kay's alter egos, and part of Jane's arc this season was all about letting go and accepting Miranda as the best person to handle Kay's protection.
You are so much stronger than I would have ever been. From now on, I'll fall in line.
Of course, that's right before she's pushed down the well to drown for all eternity. As we find out in arguably the biggest twist of the season, Miranda isn't Miranda at all. In fact, the real Miranda died down the well decades ago. So who is this mystery woman who has infiltrated Kay's alter egos? My theory is that it's the Candlemaker manifesting a version of Kay's abusive father. In the last episode, we saw how Vic, Rita, and Cliff all faced off against their quote-unquote imaginary friends, but really it was all the Candlemaker's doing. Who's to say that the Candlemaker isn't controlling this alter ego somehow? Let's remember that this fake Miranda first appeared after the Candlemaker made it into the underground and killed Baby Doll and Flaming Katie. That's one hell of a coincidence if it turns out the Candlemaker isn't in control. And of course, the Candlemaker would use Kay's biggest trauma, the abuse of her father, against her. And what better way to infiltrate Kay's body and personalities than by manifesting as the alter ego, the protector who stood up to that abusive father.
Told you I don't want to hear none of that Miranda crap no more.
What I'm trying to say here is that this alter ego is a version of her father controlled by the Candlemaker, and we definitely know there's some father elements by what the fake Miranda says here.
And who are you?
Sweet baby.
That line, sweet baby, is what her father used to call her as a child, and if you go all the way back to Season 1, Episode 9, where Jane confronts her father, it's on full display.
Sweet, sweet baby Kay.
Sweet, sweet baby.
Sweet, sweet baby.
But all this really doesn't matter because Kay's body is completely covered in wax. It doesn't matter who's in control if there's no body to control in the first place. Here's where things get a little more interesting.
It's behind me, isn't it?
The only person who is still standing at the end of the episode, and yes, that's a terrible, terrible pun, is Niles Calder. And I think the key to what happens next lies in this very quick shot of Niles holding a syringe. Obviously, this will come into play. He wouldn't just randomly bring a syringe to a carnival with his daughter unless he planned on using it, perhaps on her. Now, what's in it? My best guess is that it's this same serum used to suppress Crazy Jane's powers, the concoction that was put together by Joshua Clay in Season 1 that Niles said this season is all gone. So who would he use it on? Doesn't really make sense to use it on himself, and Dorothy's already gone with the Candlemaker, so maybe he'll have to use it on Jane to suppress the Candlemaker taking over her body. There are also two wild cards out there that could possibly play a role in what happens next. The first is Mr. Nobody. All we know about him this season is that he's made it out of the painting and unavailable because he's working on the Harley Quinn animated series. This is just a fun nod to the actor who plays Mr. Nobody, Alan Tudyk, I hope I'm saying that right, voicing one of the characters on that show.
Did you just call me a fudger?
Mr. Nobody is insanely powerful, and there's no way he'd want the world to end, so it's definitely possible we'll see him return to join forces with the Doom Patrol. The second wild card is Danny the Brick, who we last saw turn into a tire at the end of Episode 4. Now, in the comics, he later turns into Danny the Ambulance, and perhaps that tire is hinting at what he's gonna turn into. And the Doom Patrol does look like it could use an ambulance right about now. And if Danny arrives, so too will the Danny Zins, like Flex Mantello, who can make things appear out of thin air. Probably a good thing to have in this situation. As things look increasingly grim for the Doom Patrol, it seems their only hope is Dorothy, who at the end of the season goes to take on the Candlemaker by herself, something Niles says she isn't ready for. In fact, Dorothy's character arc is all about growing up. She's actually 103 years old, but is in the body of an 11-year-old. This slow growth Niles attributes to her being the daughter of Slava, an immortal survivor of an ancient tribe. And Slava's reappearance near the end of the season indicates her, and likely her people, have something to do with the Candlemaker. Slava wants Dorothy to grow up and fight him, almost as if it's some sort of ritual bringing her into womanhood. And bonus points if you clock the boots she puts on are ruby colored, just like Dorothy's ruby slippers in The Wizard of Oz. Will those boots, like Dorothy's in Oz, be her way back to the real world? And that brings us to who the Candlemaker really is. In the comics, he's an extra-dimensional being that is the physical representation of fears such as World War III or nuclear bombs. He wasn't a threat because he couldn't travel to the physical world, but he's now found a way through Dorothy's power of making imaginary creatures come to life. As witnessed throughout the season, the Candlemaker can grant wishes, but these wishes come at great expense, which is why Niles says she must never make a wish. In the comics, the Candlemaker allows 3 wishes, kind of like a genie, and it just so happens she uses her final wish to bring back Joshua Clay, one of the murdered Doom Patrol members. Add that to the list of reasons we may see him again. Upon using her final wish, the Candlemaker gets its freedom into the physical world, which is what Dorothy is wanting to stop. Now, I don't think the Candlemaker is going to kill Dorothy. He needs Dorothy in order to get into the physical world. Her power is what makes it possible for him to live. But I do want to talk about the Candlemaker's last line, where he tells Dorothy it's time for her to meet her fate. Does he know what she'll become, what she'll be responsible for? Will he even try to sway her against Niles and the Doom Patrol? After all, it was Niles who kept her hidden away on Danny Street for decades, almost like a prisoner. Now, I also see the show introducing a time travel element, and there are some clues that hint towards this. Time has played a huge role this season. Niles wants to slow down Dorothy growing up and wears a longevity talisman, something he trades to Willoughby Kipling in order to return the Doom Patrol members to their natural size. There's also an interesting episode where Rita and Cliff have to take on a Dr. Time who controls a rare time-bending element called continuinium. Not to mention how the show utilizes countless flashbacks, but it's the fact Cliff won't be able to make his daughter Clara's wedding that leads me to believe time travel might just happen. I mean, it would be the perfect ending if a time travel element were introduced and Cliff and the Doom Patrol are both able to save the day and he's able to go to his daughter's wedding. We also have Larry's interesting meeting with Moscow, a space traveler who, like him, also went into that field of energy that irradiated his body. But unlike him, she has learned to control the energy, become one with it, and was able to do this in 5 years. It's been decades for Larry, so did time play a factor here? We know how time and space can be funky, like did you even see Interstellar? And is this a hint that we'll soon see a more normal looking version of Larry? Doom Patrol's character arcs are what set apart this show from most of the other superhero shows and movies out there. These characters are well developed with rich flaws that they have to overcome. Rita has to believe that she isn't a fraud and overcome the trauma of watching her mom bang a producer. Larry tries to rekindle his relationship with his family only to be backstabbed by those he loves. Vic tries to navigate his own trauma and falls in love with a woman with a murderous past. And Cliff tries to be the father his father never was. It's really interesting to watch these characters grow and how their traumas inform their decisions. But one main thread that ties all these characters together is family. All of them have either hurt or have been hurt by their real families, so much so that the Doom Patrol itself becomes a pseudo-family. They're all that they've got. And I think that's part of the reason why we care about them so much. We've seen the pain they've gone through, and we want to see them succeed. And I know that I will be in pain if there isn't a season 3. So I hope you'll give this video a like and subscribe, and comment below your thoughts and theories for next season. You can also follow me on Twitter at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember, Daddy loves you very much.